Yes, I believe the market is bound to hit new highs. In fact, to do that thumbnail, I had to get a picture and turn it upside down and then rotate it horizontally in order to get that arrow to point up. There aren't many people who believe the market is going up. There are people who believe we are going into a recession and the market is going to crash. In fact, I went to YouTube and to see what's all the other YouTubers talking about. And here's what I found. It's just constantly the recession is going to bring the market down. Well, yeah, I guess it is. Not I guess it is. It is. It has. But I look at these people and I say, I guess they're all too young to remember what happens next. Maybe they haven't experienced it. Maybe they haven't been involved in this long enough to recognize that there is a next step in this process, and that is a market boom. And I'm confident it's coming. I'm so confident I'm investing accordingly. Why am I confident? Because history tells us that's what's going to happen. But what we've learned about history is nobody learns anything from history. So look at this chart. And as you can see, we've experienced this before. We had the Dotcom Bubble. We had the Subprime Crisis. We had the Corona crash. And now we've got an overexuberance. That's what it always is facilitated upon. There's a period of time when there's over liquidity or overconfidence, and then the market wakes up and says, this isn't real, and it crashes. But then it comes back. And I'm going to tell you why it comes back, when it's going to come back, and what you need to invest in the comeback in this video. Now, I am not a doomsdayer. I know that I live in the United States. I've lived here for 77 3/4 years, and I've seen what happens. So I'm confident of it. This is not financial advice. This is financial education. And if you want some financial education, subscribe and give it a thumbs up and leave a positive comment. And I'm sorry about the bots who throw all the spam into the comments, but just kind of read by them. I'm not going to spend my day deleting them. Talk to you more in a second.
Best of Us Investors presents Carrie Griegmeyer.
Okay, let's first talk about how do you invest in this recession environment we're in. Well, the answer to it all is dollar cost averaging. And that is to say, yeah, the market will go down. I'm expecting probably a final drop as we go into earnings season at the end of this month, as we move into the FANG stocks and they give us some disappointing earnings, and that's to be expected. And I think, in fact, it's baked in at some level, but the retail market has probably not responded to it yet, as they see that John and Mary decided to spend money on gasoline rather than new shoes for the kids, and so Amazon's earnings are down. And since they aren't buying new shoes for the kids, Google's advertising and Facebook's advertising and Apple's advertising revenues are down. And maybe they didn't buy a new phone because they had to spend $100 to fill up their SUV. That's understandable. But the reality is, you don't know where the bottom is. I don't know where the bottom is. I created some cash a couple of weeks ago, so I'm dollar cost averaging into those stocks that I believe will take us into the next boom, and that's Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Apple. Why do I believe that? Because the next boom is going to be driven by big data, artificial intelligence, and quantum computing, and those people who take that big data, that artificial intelligence and quantum computing, and turn it into an asset for you and I. And I've told you in other videos what I believe that asset is, that we're going to become owners of our data, and we will share in the revenues that are made by Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Apple. And so I believe they are who I want to be dollar cost averaging in. In addition to that, I want to be dollar cost averaging into sectors, and that is biotech, cybersecurity, 3D printing, semiconductors, not so much the EV companies, but the EV support companies, the plugs and the batteries and the lithium miners, things that are going to help EV become a part. I don't invest in automobile companies because they don't make money. That's just a proven fact. And then I also want to invest in fintech because I believe our country, our world is in fact going to change our perspective on currency, and it's going to involve online, and it's going to involve my phone. So I want to be in fintech. Then I want to dollar cost averaging into those countries that are going to benefit from deglobalization. And I've talked a lot of late about deglobalization, and I've talked about this book. I just got the hard copy. I've been listening to the Audible copy, and I encourage you to go to the link that will take you to this and get your Audible copy. And if you're not a current member of Audible, they'll give you your first book free, and I strongly suggest you get Peter Zion's book, The End of the World is Just the Beginning, Mapping the Collapse of Globalization. And that's a key. That is a word that I've coined it a deglobalization. I don't think that's in the dictionary, but I think you need to be aware of it. So what countries do you invest in? I've told you what companies, what sectors, what countries. There's only one, the USA. If you'll read this book, you'll have the same confidence than I do that China is about to collapse and Russia will, well, I'm not sure what Russia's determination is, but we can't allow them to keep invading other countries, so they'll probably collapse too, and that'll turn Europe upside down. So if I were you right now, all I would be doing is dollar cost averaging into the U.S. I'd also, if you don't want to be actively managing your portfolio, look at some index funds. I would just point you towards the NASDAQ 100 because that's where change comes. That's where better than average returns come. And then also take a look at some ETFs. I am still a strong supporter of Cathie Woods. I think she has made it very clear that her perspective is 5 years out. And if that matches up with yours, I'd encourage you to go find Cathie Woods' portfolios, come to understand them, and make your investments accordingly. Then I would also encourage you to understand what a Roth IRA is, particularly if you're young, and build your portfolio inside a Roth IRA. You're allowed to put $6,000 per year in there, and when you don't get a tax deduction for doing it, but it all comes out tax-free. And I've done a video where I've shown you if you'll start that at 22 and put it into the S&P 500, there's a good chance you could have $16 million worth of tax-free income when you reach your retirement years. But that's a different video, and we'll talk more about that in the future. But what I also want you to understand is the investment atmosphere that you currently find yourself in. And that is to say, you can't beat the street. That's a new phrase I'm going to use a lot. You can't beat the street. And who is the street? Wall Street. They build a team of people to compete on a millisecond basis, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and a 90-day basis. But they don't go beyond that 90 days because that's when they get measured for their performance, and that's how they determine their bonuses. So they aren't worried about 2 years, 5 years, like Kathy Woods is. They're worried about making their bonuses and hitting their numbers so that they can live the glorious life of a Wall Street team player. You can't compete with them. You may be able to move with them as a day trader, and if you develop those skills and you want to dedicate that time, go for it. But this isn't the channel for you because I don't play that game. I don't have the skills and I don't want to develop the skills. Hell, I think you can be anything you want to be if you'll put the time and work into it. But most of us aren't going to become millisecond traders and day traders and swing traders because it takes a lot of work. So let's invest in the future. Let's build a team to invest in the future. And that's what I call my tribe, a group of people that we come together and share our knowledge. My email box is right now just full of emails that David Gibson, who subscribes to a lot of gurus, and he wants me, it's David Gordon. Yeah, I'm just looking at my email box over there. He shares all his guru knowledge. I pay for about $7,000 a year. Of guru knowledge, and I share that with my tribe because, again, I recognize I need to form a team. I can't win at this game as an individual, and that's what the tribe's all about, and that's what Best of Us Investors all about. And just go into the description, find a link to our Discord, take a look at it. If it fits you, wonderful. And then show up for our Friday night stock talk. It's actually Friday afternoon when the market closes. So what I want you to do, though, if this makes sense to you, I want you to concentrate on the last 3 videos I've made. Here they are. Investing for the future, stocks, bonds, and real estate. That just came out yesterday on the 4th of July. Buy America's best companies tomorrow morning through dollar cost averaging. And then one that is basically built on what I've learned from this book. A wave of money is coming to the U.S. stock market. And this is all about the fact that we are going to deglobalize and certain economies are going to fail as a result of it. Can economies fail? It happened in 1990 when Japan basically went into a decade of economic decline. They have recovered at some point, but they have some difficulties with their demographics. And I go very heavy into the demographic scene in these 3 videos because if you don't understand that, if you do not read this book, I am not co-authoring this book. I just believe it is one of the most important books I've read in my lifetime relative to me being successful in any form of business. So if you're not on Audible, you can get a free copy. The link's in the description, and then watch these 3 videos, and I think you'll be up and running. So that's what I believe is on the horizon, a stock market boom, because it has happened every time before. Again, take a look at the graph. There's history will tell you what the future is. And then if you understand why we've had this crash as a result of the $9 trillion that our government has pumped into our economy in it was from March to December of 2020, and thus created this inflation we have, created this raise in interest rates, you'll understand it and say, is it a correctable situation, or is it something we are going to be burdened with for the rest of our lives? No. It's a correctable situation, and then when you inject artificial intelligence and machine learning and big data and quantum computing in behind that, my goodness, it can't do anything but boom. Because our lives are going to get better. We're going to be able to make better decisions. How do you make better decisions? Getting better advice, getting better education. What artificial intelligence does is takes Carrie's brain and multiplies it times 1,000,000, and then gives him the answers to the questions that he has. What should I invest in? Quantum computing is going to tell me. Artificial intelligence is going to tell me. But right now, I want to invest in the companies who are going to make this happen. And that's my vision into the future. And so I'm not playing the millisecond game with the street, because you can't beat the street. I'm not playing the daily game with the street, because you can't beat the street. I'm playing the long game, which they don't play. They don't get bonused on a 5-year basis. They get bonused on a monthly or a quarterly basis and then an annual basis. So right now, they're not looking past December 31st. But I would advise you, they need this market to rally before December 31st. Keep that in mind. That's financial education. That's Carrie Grinkmeyer, retired CFP, CHFC, and CLU. Was one of the top financial advisors in the Ameriprise system of 10,000. Was consistently in the top 3. Who retired, went on long trips, and then found YouTube. Find me again tomorrow.